At 5:07 a.m., my daughter-in-law texted me, "Dad, please do not go to work today. Just trust me." I stared at the screen in the dark bedroom, my wife still asleep beside me. The message glowed in my hand like a warning flare. I typed back, "What happened?" The read receipt appeared immediately. She'd seen it, but no reply came. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, hit the hype button and like the video. It really helps the channel grow. And tell us in the comments, what would you do in this situation? I sat up slowly, careful not to wake Patricia. My mind was already running through possibilities. Accident? Emergency? Something at the courthouse? I was a building safety inspector, not exactly a job that created 5 a.m. crises. I'd spent 37 years in structural engineering before taking this position 3 years ago. I understood buildings, codes, legal frameworks. I understood systems. But I didn't understand this message. I got dressed anyway, showered, shaved, made coffee. Patricia woke up around 6 and found me at the kitchen table staring at my phone. "Everything okay?" she asked. Liz sent me a weird text. Told me not to go to work. Didn't say why. Patricia frowned. "That's strange. Did you call her?" "She's not answering." "What about Evan?" "Our son, her husband, my only child. He's not answering either." Patricia poured herself coffee, her expression shifting into something I'd learned to recognize over 40 years of marriage. Concern mixed with calculation. She was a family law paralegal. She thought in terms of evidence and procedure. "Maybe don't go in today," she said carefully, "just in case." "In case of what?" "I don't know. But if Liz is warning you, maybe listen." I shook my head. "I have 3 inspections scheduled. I'm not calling in sick because of a cryptic text message." "Michael, I'm going." I left the house at 7:15, drove through morning traffic to the King County Courthouse, parked in my usual spot. Everything felt normal. The sky was overcast, typical Seattle gray. I grabbed my inspection bag from the trunk and headed inside. I made it to my office, set down my things, logged into my computer. My supervisor, Glenn Harmon, knocked on my doorframe around 8:30. "Michael, can I see you for a minute?" His face was wrong, too neutral, too careful. I stood up and followed him to his office. 2 people I didn't recognize were waiting inside, a man and a woman, both in business attire. "Mr. Reeves, I'm Detective Andrea Walsh. This is Detective James Porter. We'd like to ask you some questions about a complaint that was filed yesterday evening." The floor didn't fall out from under me. I'm not prone to dramatic reactions, but something cold settled in my chest, something that felt like recognition. "What kind of complaint?" "A harassment complaint. Allegations of threatening behavior toward a contractor during an inspection last Thursday." I processed this slowly. "Which contractor?" "Nathan Price, from Cascade Building Group." I knew Price. I'd failed 2 of his projects in the past 6 months for code violations. He'd been angry both times, accused me of being overly strict, said I had it out for him. I'd documented everything, kept copies of all communications. "I didn't threaten anyone," I said. "Mr. Price claims you told him you'd make sure he never worked in this county again, that you implied physical harm if he didn't withdraw his appeals." It was such obvious nonsense that I almost laughed, but the detectives weren't smiling. Glenn wasn't smiling. "That's completely false. I have documentation of every interaction." "We'll need to investigate," Detective Walsh said. "In the meantime, Mr. Harmon has placed you on administrative leave pending the outcome." There it was, suspended, reputation stained, access blocked. "This is absurd," I said, but my voice stayed level. "I've never threatened anyone in my career. This is retaliation for legitimate code enforcement." "That may be," Glenn said, and he actually looked sympathetic. "But we have to follow protocol. You'll be paid during the leave, but you need to surrender your badge and building access immediately." I handed them over. The detectives asked me more questions, I answered calmly, factually. Yes, I'd inspected Price's projects. Yes, I'd failed them. No, I'd never made threats. Yes, I had documentation. They took notes, said they'd be in touch. I walked out of the courthouse at 9:47 a.m., got in my car, and sat there for 10 minutes. Then I called Evan. He answered on the fourth ring. Dad? What's wrong? His voice had the right amount of concern, just enough surprise, just enough worry. If I hadn't been listening for it, I wouldn't have heard the other thing underneath, the thing that sounded like preparation. I just got suspended from work, I said. Police investigation, harassment complaint. What? That's crazy. What happened? I told him. He made the right noises, said the right things, offered to help, suggested lawyers, sounded appropriately outraged. We talked for maybe 5 minutes. I thanked him and hung up. Then I called Patricia. Something's wrong, I said. What do you mean? Liz warned me this morning. Now I'm suspended. This isn't coincidence. Michael, maybe she heard something. From who? The complaint was only filed yesterday. How would she know? Patricia was quiet for a moment. Come home. Don't talk to anyone else until we figure this out. I drove home. Patricia was waiting in the living room with her laptop open. She'd already started making calls, pulling in favors from her legal network. By afternoon, we had copies of the complaint. It had been filed at 6:47 p.m. the previous evening. Liz had texted me at 5:07 a.m., less than 12 hours later. Before the investigation had even started, before anyone official would have contacted her, before there was any reason for her to know. She knew because someone told her, Patricia said. Someone who knew it was coming. We looked at each other. Evan wouldn't, I said, but even as I spoke, my mind was already turning over, examining, rejecting the denial. Let me make some more calls, Patricia said. Over the next 3 days, we learned more. Nathan Price had a gambling problem, owed money to the wrong people. Someone had paid off $48,000 of his debt 2 weeks ago. The same someone had recently incorporated a property management company. The same someone who stood to inherit a house worth $1.2 million and investment accounts worth another $800,000. My son. Evan came to visit on day 4, brought lunch, pretended everything was normal. Patricia made an excuse to leave us alone in the kitchen. How are you holding up? Evan asked, unpacking sandwiches. I'm fine, I said. Little surprised, but fine. Have they told you anything new? Not yet. These things take time. He nodded, took a bite. You know, Dad, I've been thinking. Maybe this is actually a sign. You're 62. You've worked your whole life. Maybe it's time to step back. Let someone else handle the stress. There it was. So casual. So reasonable. Handle what stress? I asked. Just, the day-to-day stuff. Bills, property management, legal things. I've been looking into elder care services. I'm 62, not 92. I know. But it doesn't hurt to plan ahead. Actually, I brought some paperwork. Just power of attorney stuff, financial planning. Mom mentioned you guys haven't updated your estate documents in years. He pulled out a folder. I didn't touch it. Mom mentioned that? Yeah, a couple weeks ago. She's worried about you. Patricia had never said anything like that to him. I knew because we talked about everything. We'd been married 40 years. We had no secrets. I'll look at it later, I said. Actually, if we could just sign today, I can file everything tomorrow. Get it done, one less thing to worry about. I picked up the folder, opened it. Power of attorney, financial guardianship, advanced healthcare directive. My signature lines were flagged with sticky notes. This gives you complete control of my assets, I said. Only if something happens to you. It's just preparation. I'm healthy. I don't need a guardian. Dad, you just got suspended from work. You're under investigation. You're stressed. These things can affect judgment. My judgment is fine. He sighed, like I was being difficult. Look, I'm trying to help. If this investigation goes bad, if they file charges, you could lose access to your accounts. This protects you. Or it protects you. His face changed. Just for a second, the concern dropped away, and something else looked out at me. Something calculating. Then he smiled. Come on, Dad. I'm your son. You really think I'd hurt you? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Saw the man I'd raised, taught, supported through college and career launches and marriage. Saw the stranger wearing his face. I'll think about it, I said. He left 20 minutes later, taking the paperwork with him. I sat at the kitchen table until Patricia came back. He tried to get me to sign power of attorney, I said. I know, I was listening from upstairs. He set this up. The complaint, the suspension. He's trying to make me look unstable so he can take control. Patricia sat down across from me. Her face was pale, but her eyes were steady. What do we do? I thought about that. About everything I knew, everything I'd built. About systems and structures and how they could be used or abused. About the law, which I understood better than most people realized. About documentation and evidence and procedure. We let him think it's working, I said. Michael. He wants me to look defeated. Fine, I'll look defeated. But I'm going to start keeping records of everything. And when the time comes, I'm going to use exactly the same tools he's using against me. That's dangerous. So is doing nothing. She reached across the table, took my hand. Then we do it together. That night, I started a file. Documented everything. Dates, times, conversations, copies of all paperwork. I requested copies of the harassment complaint through my union rep, started tracking Evan's finances, his business moves, his communications. He thought I'd break. He was wrong. I just stopped pretending I ever needed him. The investigation dragged on for 3 weeks. Detective Walsh called twice for follow-up questions. I answered everything calmly, provided documentation, stayed cooperative. Glenn kept me updated. Price's story had inconsistencies. Other contractors confirmed my professionalism. No physical evidence supported the harassment claims. But the process had its own momentum. Once started, it couldn't simply stop. It had to conclude officially. Meanwhile, Evan visited twice a week, always bringing food, always asking about my mental state, always suggesting I needed help managing my affairs. He was patient, persistent, building a pattern. If anyone ever reviewed these visits, they'd see a concerned son caring for an increasingly unstable father. Patricia played along. She'd seem worried when Evan was around, mention my mood swings and forgetfulness. All lies, all documented in our private files, but Evan ate it up. He thought she was on his side. Week 4, I found the smoking gun. My old firm kept alumni access to certain databases. I still had login credentials from consulting work I'd done the previous year. On a Wednesday afternoon, while Patricia was at her office, I logged in and searched property records. Evan's new company, Reeves Property Solutions LLC, had filed preliminary paperwork to assume management of my house. The forms were dated 2 weeks before my suspension. They claimed authority through power of attorney documents that didn't exist yet. He'd forged my signature. I printed everything, made 3 copies, stored them in different locations, sent encrypted files to Patricia's work email with instructions not to open them unless I told her to. Then I called my lawyer, Thomas Brennan, who'd handled our estate planning for 15 years. Tom, hypothetical question. If someone filed fraudulent power of attorney documents, what would be the consequences? Criminal fraud. Could be felony level depending on financial impact. Why? Just curious. Another question. If someone tried to gain guardianship through false medical claims, how would that play out? They'd need supporting documentation, medical evaluations, psychiatric assessments. Courts don't grant guardianship lightly, especially over competent adults. Michael, what's going on? Nothing yet. but I might need your help soon. Can you be ready to move fast if necessary? Of course, but you need to tell me what this is about. Soon. Let me gather everything first. I hung up and stared at the documents spread across my desk. Evan had made his first real mistake. He'd moved too early, gotten impatient, created evidence of intent before the actual crime was complete. That evening, Liz called me. My daughter-in-law, 28 years old, married to Evan for 4 years, quiet, smart, worked as a research analyst for a pharmaceutical company. I'd always liked her. She seemed genuine in ways Evan sometimes didn't. Dad, can we talk? Her voice shook. I put the phone on speaker so Patricia could hear. Of course, what's wrong? I need to tell you something about the text I sent. I figured it was you warning me. I didn't know what else to do. Evan told me the night before. He said someone was going to file a complaint against you, said it was happening because you'd been acting erratic at work, making mistakes. He made it sound like intervention, like people were concerned about your safety. But you didn't believe him. Silence. Then, I wanted to. But something felt wrong. The way he talked about it, like it was already done. Like he knew exactly how it would go. Did he tell you why he wanted this to happen? He said you were getting old. Said you couldn't handle your responsibilities anymore. Said someone needed to step in before you hurt yourself or lost everything. I believed him at first, but then, after you got suspended, he started talking about your house, about investments, about how we could manage things better. Her voice cracked. I didn't understand what I was hearing. Then last week I found paperwork in his office, documents with your signature that I know you didn't sign because the dates were wrong. You were in Vancouver visiting your sister that weekend. What dates? April 14th. But you left April 12th, came back the 17th. I know because I drove you to the airport. April 14th. The date on the forged power of attorney documents. Liz, where are you now? In my car, outside a coffee shop. I told Evan I was working late. Does he know you found those papers? No, I put everything back exactly how it was. Patricia leaned toward the phone. Liz, honey, this is important. Are you safe? Has Evan threatened you or hurt you? No, nothing like that. He just scares me now. The way he talks about you both, like you're problems to solve, like you're not even people. Can you get copies of those documents? I asked. I already did. I took pictures of everything on my phone. Good. Can you send them to me? Yes. But Dad, I'm scared. What do I do? He's my husband. I thought I knew him. Patricia and I looked at each other. This was the moment. We could tell Liz everything, bring her all the way in, or we could keep her at a distance, protect her from what was coming. Liz, I said carefully, I need you to listen. Everything you just told me confirms what we already suspected. Evan is trying to take control of my assets by making me look incompetent. He's forged documents, bribed witnesses, possibly committed multiple felonies. If we fight this, it's going to get ugly. It's going to destroy his career and possibly send him to prison. Are you prepared for that? More silence. Then, he tried to destroy you first. Yes. What do you need from me? And just like that, we had an informant inside the enemy camp. Over the next week, Liz fed us everything. Photos of documents, recordings of phone calls, emails, text messages. Evan had been planning this for at least 4 months. The triggering event was our refusal to co-sign a business loan he'd wanted. He'd taken it personally, decided we didn't trust him, decided to take what he thought he deserved. The paperwork told the whole story. He'd researched guardianship laws, found lawyers who specialized in elder care disputes, mapped out a timeline. The harassment complaint was step 1. Step 2 was supposed to be a medical evaluation showing cognitive decline. Step 3 was court-ordered guardianship. He'd even prepared talking points for concerned family statements. I sat in my office reading through everything, feeling nothing. Not anger, not betrayal, not sadness. Just cold clarity. This was a problem with a solution. All I had to do was execute. We need to hit him where it hurts most, Patricia said. His reputation. Evan was a commercial real estate broker. His entire career depended on trust, connections, credibility. He'd spent 10 years building relationships with developers, investors, property management firms. His employer is Dixon Realty Group, I said. Regional office, about 40 agents. I know the managing director, Frank Dixon. We served on a zoning committee together 5 years ago. You can't go to them yet, not until we have everything locked down. I'm not going to them. I'm going to their clients. Patricia raised an eyebrow. How? Evan's been handling a major development deal. Westlake Center renovation, $40 million project. I know because he mentioned it last month, bragged about the commission. If I can prove he's committed fraud in his personal life, those investors will run background checks. They'll find the forged documents. They'll pull out. That only works if the documents are public record. They will be, as soon as I file a fraud complaint with the county. That exposes everything. Evan will know you're fighting back. Good. Let him know. Patricia studied me. You're not the same person you were a month ago. No, I agreed. I'm not. That night, I drafted the fraud complaint. Detailed everything, attached evidence, submitted it electronically to the King County Prosecutor's Office. The system generated an automatic case number. The documents became part of the public record. I copied the case number and sent it to 6 different people. Frank Dixon at Evans Company, 2 major investors in the Westlake project, 3 journalists who covered commercial real estate fraud. Then I waited. 48 hours later, Evan called me screaming. What did you do? What the hell did you do? I put him on speaker. Patricia sat beside me, recording on her phone. I filed a fraud complaint, I said calmly, based on forged power of attorney documents you created using my identity. You're insane. You're proving exactly what I've been saying. You're not capable of managing your own affairs. The documents have timestamps, Evan. They're dated when I was out of state. There are witnesses, airport records, hotel receipts. You made a mistake. This is because of Liz, isn't it? She's been poisoning you against me. Liz sent me the evidence you left in your home office. She did it because she's a decent person who doesn't want to be married to a criminal. She's my wife. Actually, she's filing for dissolution of marriage tomorrow morning. Irreconcilable differences. She already moved her things out. Didn't she tell you? The call went completely silent. When Evan spoke again, his voice had changed. Lower, harder. You're going to regret this. No, I said. I really don't think I will. He hung up. Patricia stopped the recording, saved 3 copies. Here we go, she said. Here we go, I agreed. The next morning, Frank Dixon called me. Michael, Frank Dixon. We met a few years back, zoning committee. I remember. How can I help you? I received some information about your son. I wanted to hear your side before making any decisions. I told him everything. Calmly, factually, with documentation to support every claim. Frank listened without interrupting. I appreciate your honesty, he said finally. I'm going to need to place Evan on administrative leave while we investigate. I'm sure you understand. Completely. For what it's worth, I'm sorry this happened to you. Thank you. I hung up and checked my email. 2 of the Westlake investors had requested meetings. 1 journalist wanted an interview. Patricia brought me coffee. You know he's going to fight back harder now. I'm counting on it. Why? Because when people get desperate, they make mistakes. And I want him to make more mistakes. She smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. You've really thought this through. I had a good teacher, I said, nodding at her law books. Just promise me something. What? Don't become him. Don't let this turn you into the thing you're fighting. I considered that. Thought about who I'd been 4 weeks ago, who I was becoming, what line I was willing to cross. I won't hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it, I said finally. That's not the same as staying good. No, I agreed, but it's enough. The investigation into my harassment complaint concluded on a Tuesday. Detective Walsh called personally to tell me, "Mr. Reeves, I wanted to let you know we've closed the case. Insufficient evidence to support Mr. Price's claims. Multiple witnesses contradicted his testimony, and we found evidence of financial incentive. We'll be recommending you be reinstated immediately." What about Price? That's a separate matter. Filing a false police report is a misdemeanor. The prosecutor will decide whether to charge. And the person who paid him? A pause. We're aware of the secondary investigation. I can't comment on ongoing cases. I understand. Thank you, Detective. I hung up and called Glenn Harmon. He'd already received the notification. "Michael, I'm so sorry about all this. You can return Monday morning, full back pay, clean record." "Appreciate it, Glenn." But I wasn't going back. Not yet. I had other work to do. Evan's firm put him on leave on Wednesday. By Thursday, the story had leaked to a real estate industry blog. Nothing detailed, just vague mentions of internal investigation and administrative concerns. But in Evan's world, that was enough. People started asking questions. Friday afternoon, Liz met me at a coffee shop downtown. She looked exhausted, thinner than I remembered. "How are you holding up?" I asked. "I moved in with my sister, filed the paperwork yesterday. Evan's lawyer already called me 3 times. "Saying what?" "That I'm making a mistake, that I'm being manipulated, that there's still time to fix this." She wrapped both hands around her cup. "He doesn't get it. I'm not leaving because you told me to. I'm leaving because I finally see who he is." "When did you figure it out?" "Remember when I sent you that warning text? The night before, Evan was on the phone with someone. He thought I was asleep. I heard him say, 'Once he's suspended, we start the medical evaluation process. Give it 2 weeks, then file for guardianship.' He was talking about you like you were a problem to eliminate. That's when I knew. Do you still have that recording?" She pulled out her phone, played the audio. Evan's voice was clear, distinct, discussing timeline and strategy with someone whose voice I didn't recognize. "Who's he talking to?" "His lawyer. Guy named Derek Moss. Specializes in estate planning and elder law." I recorded the audio on my own phone. "This is conspiracy to commit fraud. This ends his career and possibly his law license." "Good. No hesitation. He deserves it." We talked for another 20 minutes. She gave me more documents, more recordings, more evidence of planning and intent. By the time she left, I had enough to bury Evan 3 times over. But I wanted more than that. I wanted complete destruction. That weekend, I reached out to the Westlake Center investors, set up meetings for the following week, prepared presentations showing exactly how my son had committed fraud, how it demonstrated character issues relevant to fiduciary responsibility, how continuing to work with him exposed them to legal and reputational risk. Monday morning, instead of returning to work, I sat in a conference room with 2 investors and their lawyers. "Gentlemen, thank you for meeting with me. I know this is unusual, but I believe it's necessary for your protection." I walked them through everything: the forged documents, the bribed witnesses, the conspiracy with his lawyer, showed them court filings, police reports, authenticated signatures, made it simple, clear, legally airtight. "Your point?" one of the lawyers asked. "My point is that Evan Reeves has demonstrated willingness to commit felony fraud for personal gain. He's currently your broker on a $40 million project. If he's willing to defraud his own father, what makes you think he won't defraud you?" The investors looked at each other. "We appreciate the information," the older one said. "We'll certainly take it into consideration." They were being polite, but I could see the calculation in their eyes. They were already planning to pull out. I hit 3 more meetings that week, 2 other development groups, 1 property management firm, same presentation, same evidence, same result. By Friday, Evan had lost 4 major clients. Frank Dixon called me that evening. "Michael, I wanted to let you know in advance. We're ending Evan's employment. The investigation confirmed several breaches of our ethics policies. I can't share specifics, but I thought you should be informed. I appreciate you calling, Frank. For what it's worth, none of this gives me pleasure. I liked your son. So did I said. Once. That weekend, Evan showed up at my house. Patricia and I were in the kitchen when the doorbell rang. I checked the camera. Evan stood on the porch, looking disheveled, angry. I opened the door, but didn't invite him in. What do you want? You destroyed my career. You turned my wife against me. You're tearing apart everything I built. No, you did that. I'm just holding up a mirror. I'm your son. You stopped being my son when you forged my signature, when you paid someone to lie about me, when you tried to steal my life. His face twisted. You don't understand. I needed this. The business loans, the investments, the house equity. I needed capital to grow. You and Mom were just sitting on all that money doing nothing with it. So you decided to take it. I decided to use it productively. By committing fraud. It's not fraud if it's family money. I looked at him, really looked at him, saw nothing I recognized anymore. You're not my family, I said. Not anymore. You can't do this. You can't just erase your own son. Watch me. I closed the door, heard him yelling outside for a minute, then footsteps, then his car starting. Patricia came up behind me, put her hand on my shoulder. Are you okay? I'm fine, I said, and meant it. The following week, the prosecutor's office filed charges. Criminal fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit elder abuse. Evan's lawyer, Derek Moss, was named as co-conspirator. The story hit the local news. I watched the coverage from my living room. Evan's mugshot flashed on screen. The anchor described him as a former real estate broker who had allegedly targeted his own father. My phone rang. Thomas Brennan, my lawyer. Michael, have you seen the news? Just watched it. The prosecutor wants you to testify at the preliminary hearing. Are you willing? Absolutely. Good. We also received notice that Evan's attorney wants to negotiate a plea deal. They're claiming mental health issues, temporary impairment, family stress. No deal, I said. Michael, a trial could take months. It'll be expensive, exhausting. I don't care. I want this public. I want everyone to see exactly what he did. Thomas was quiet for a moment. All right. I'll let them know. The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks out. In the meantime, I went back to work. Glenn welcomed me back personally, made sure everyone knew the charges against me had been completely dismissed. My colleagues were supportive, professional. Nobody mentioned my son. I fell back into routine. Inspections, paperwork, code enforcement. It felt good to do work that mattered, work that protected people. But in the evenings, I prepared for court. Thomas helped me organize evidence, practice testimony, understand procedure. Patricia sat with me for hours, running through potential cross-examination questions. They're going to try to make you look vindictive, she warned. They'll say you're a bitter father seeking revenge, that you're exaggerating minor family disputes. Let them try. The documents speak for themselves. Documents can be interpreted different ways. They'll argue Evan made mistakes but didn't have criminal intent. He bribed a witness. He forged legal documents. He conspired with a lawyer to commit fraud. That's not a mistake, that's a pattern. She nodded. Just stay calm. Don't let them provoke you. I'm always calm. That's what worries me sometimes. Liz called me the next evening. Her voice sounded stronger than before. Dad, I need to tell you something. Evan's been contacting me. Dozens of calls, texts, emails. His lawyer sent a letter saying I'm a hostile witness, that I've been coached to lie. Have you responded? No. My lawyer told me not to engage. But I wanted you to know, I'm not backing down. Whatever they say about me, whatever they try, I'm testifying. You don't have to, Liz. You can protect yourself from this. I'm not protecting myself. I'm protecting other people from him. If I don't speak up now, he'll do this to someone else. I felt something close to pride. You're stronger than I gave you credit for. I learned from you. Watching how you handled all this, you didn't panic, didn't break down. You just methodically took apart everything he built. That's real strength. After we hung up, Patricia said, "She's right, you know, about your strength. I'm just doing what needs to be done." No, most people would have tried to fix the relationship, find compromise, make peace. You saw the truth and acted on it. That's rare. It's not rare, it's just realistic. Call it what you want, but you've changed. For better or worse. She considered that. I don't know yet. Ask me when this is over. The preliminary hearing arrived on a cold Wednesday morning. I wore a suit, arrived early, sat in the courtroom gallery while lawyers handled procedural matters. Evan sat at the defense table with his attorney, a sharp-looking woman named Carol Chen. He didn't look at me. Looked smaller somehow, diminished. The judge was a woman in her 50s, Judge Patricia Brooks. She'd read all the filings, understood the case. This is a preliminary hearing to determine if sufficient evidence exists to proceed to trial. Mr. Reeves, you're charged with forgery, criminal fraud, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. How do you plead? Evan stood. Not guilty, Your Honor. The prosecutor, a younger man named Daniel Park, presented the basic case, described the forged documents, the bribed witness, the conspiracy, called his first witness, the handwriting expert who'd authenticated my signature and proven the forgery. Then he called me. I took the stand, swore the oath, sat down, looked directly at the judge, not at Evan. Daniel walked me through the timeline, the harassment complaint, the suspension, Evan's visits, the power of attorney attempts. I answered clearly, factually, without emotion. Mr. Reeves, did you ever sign documents giving your son control of your assets? No. Did you ever authorize him to act on your behalf in property management? No. Were you aware he was claiming to have such authority? Not until I found the filed documents with my forged signature. How did you determine the signature was forged? The date was April 14th. I was in Vancouver that entire week. I have flight records, hotel receipts, credit card statements showing purchases in Canada. I couldn't have signed anything in Seattle on that date. Daniel introduced the evidence. Flight confirmations, receipts, everything time-stamped and geolocated. Carol Chen stood for cross-examination. Mr. Reeves, isn't it true you and your son had a strained relationship before these alleged incidents? Our relationship was normal until he tried to steal my assets. Normal? You refused to co-sign a business loan for him, correct? Yes. I didn't believe his business plan was sound. So you rejected your own son's request for help. I declined to take financial responsibility for what I considered a risky investment. And you told him this would, quote, end badly if he pursued it anyway. I don't recall saying that. But you discouraged him from following his entrepreneurial ambitions. I gave him honest financial advice. That's what parents do. Carol circled back. Mr. Reeves, you filed fraud complaints that destroyed your son's career. You contacted his clients, his employer, his professional contacts. Isn't it true you wanted revenge for what you perceived as disrespect? No, I wanted to stop a criminal from committing more crimes. A criminal? That's quite a characterization for your own child. It's an accurate characterization for someone who commits forgery and fraud. You really feel no guilt about ruining his life? I looked at her directly. He tried to ruin mine first. I just finished what he started. No further questions. The hearing continued for 2 more hours. Liz testified, describing the documents she'd found, the conversations she'd overheard. Nathan Price, the contractor Evan had paid, testified about the bribe in exchange for immunity. The evidence was overwhelming. Judge Brooks didn't take long to decide. Based on the evidence presented, I find probable cause to believe the defendant committed the charged offenses. This case will proceed to trial. Bail is set at $50,000. Evan's face went white. Carol Chen stood quickly. Your Honor, my client has no criminal history, strong community ties. Your client targeted a vulnerable family member with sophisticated fraud. He's a flight risk. Bail stands. Evan was led away. He looked back at me once, his face full of something I couldn't quite read. Hatred, maybe, or disbelief that this was really happening. I felt nothing. Outside the courthouse, Daniel Park caught up with me. That went well. We'll set a trial date within 60 days. I'll need you available for preparation sessions. Whatever you need. Mr. Reeves, I have to ask, are you sure you want to go through with a full trial? Your son could get 3 to 5 years if convicted. A plea deal might reduce that to probation, restitution, community service. Will a plea deal require him to admit guilt publicly? Usually yes. And it would create a criminal record? Of course. Then I don't care which option he chooses, as long as everyone knows what he did. Daniel nodded slowly. I'll convey that to the defense. Patricia and I drove home in silence. Finally, she said, How do you feel? Satisfied? Not happy? Happiness doesn't enter into it. This isn't about emotion. It's about justice. Justice or revenge? Is there a difference? She didn't answer. Evan made bail the next day. Some friend or desperate lender. He moved back into his apartment. Liz had taken her name off the lease and disappeared from public view, but his lawyer kept fighting. Carol Chen filed motions to suppress evidence, motions to dismiss charges, motions for change of venue. All denied. Judge Brooks saw through every attempt. The trial date was set for 6 weeks out. In the meantime, I returned to normal life as much as possible. Work, home, preparation. Thomas Brennan filed civil suits for damages, fraud, emotional distress, legal fees, more pressure, more consequences. I also started documenting the broader network. Evan hadn't acted completely alone. Derek Moss, his lawyer, had clearly helped plan the strategy. I filed a complaint with the State Bar Association, detailing his role in the conspiracy. 3 other lawyers reviewed the evidence and agreed. Moss had violated professional ethics. His law license was suspended pending investigation. Nathan Price, the contractor who'd filed false charges, lost his building license. His company folded within a month. I didn't have to do anything there. The consequences were automatic once his testimony became public. One by one, everyone who'd helped Evan fell. Patricia worried I was becoming obsessed. You've won, Michael. He's facing trial, he's lost his career, everyone knows what he did. Maybe it's time to step back. Not yet. Why not? Because he still thinks he can win. As long as he's fighting, I'm fighting. And when he stops, then I'll stop. But I wasn't sure that was true anymore. Something had shifted in me. The careful, measured engineer who'd started this journey had been replaced by something colder, more focused. I didn't enjoy destroying my son, but I didn't regret it either. Liz called me 3 weeks before trial. Dad, I need to tell you something. Evan contacted me last night, showed up at my sister's apartment. A chill ran through me. Did he hurt you? No, just talked. Begged me not to testify. Said if I backed out, he'd accept a plea deal, stay out of my life forever. He was crying, Dad. I'd never seen him cry before. What did you tell him? I said no. I said he made his choices and now he has to live with them. Then I called the police. They arrested him for violating the no-contact order. His bail got revoked. Good. Is it good? He's sitting in jail now. He's my husband. Ex-husband soon, but still. I remember when we were happy, when he was different. He was never different, Liz. You just didn't see this side of him yet. I know. But it still hurts. That's because you're a good person. Don't let that change. After we hung up, Patricia said, She's handling this better than I expected. She's stronger than she looks. So are you. But Michael, I need to ask, when this is over, who are you going to be? Because the man I married wouldn't have destroyed someone this completely, even if they deserved it. The man you married wouldn't have been betrayed by his own son. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. The weeks passed. Preparation continued. The prosecution built an airtight case. Evan's defense crumbled piece by piece. Carol Chen tried to negotiate, but I'd made my position clear. No deals, no mercy. Finally, the trial began. The courtroom was packed on the first day. Local media had picked up the story. Prominent real estate broker defrauds father, faces years in prison. Human interest angle, moral drama, family betrayal. They ate it up. I sat in the front row behind the prosecution table. Patricia beside me, Liz 2 seats over, Thomas Brennan on the aisle, ready to support the criminal case with our civil claims. Evan entered in handcuffs. He'd lost weight in jail. His suit hung loose on his frame. He looked diminished, scared. For a moment, just a moment, I felt something that might have been pity. Then I remembered the 5 a.m. text from Liz, the police investigation, the forged documents, the cold calculation in his voice when he'd tried to get me to sign away my rights. The pity evaporated. Judge Brooks called the court to order. Daniel Park stood for his opening statement. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this is a case about betrayal, about a son who looked at his aging father and saw not family, not love, not loyalty, but opportunity. About a man who systematically planned to strip his father of autonomy, assets, and dignity. The evidence will show that Evan Reeves forged legal documents, bribed witnesses, and conspired with others to commit fraud. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was calculated, premeditated theft disguised as family concern. He walked them through the timeline, showed documents on screens, referenced evidence that would be presented, made it clear, simple, devastating. Carol Chen's opening was softer. My client made mistakes. He acted out of genuine concern for his father's well-being and made poor choices about how to address those concerns. But criminal intent? Malicious fraud? No. What you'll see is a family conflict that escalated beyond reason, fueled by miscommunication and stubbornness on both sides. Yes, there were procedural errors. Yes, some documents were improperly filed. But this isn't a criminal case. It's a tragedy. She was good, but she had nothing to work with. The prosecution's case took 3 days. Document expert testified about the forgery. Financial investigator showed the paper trail of the bribe. Detective Walsh described the false harassment complaint. Liz testified about finding the paperwork, about overhearing conversations, about realizing her husband had been lying for months. I testified on day 3. Daniel walked me through everything again, slower and more detailed than at the preliminary hearing. Established timeline, motive, impact, showed the jury the forged signatures, the fraudulent filings, the coordinated conspiracy. Carol Chen's cross-examination was aggressive. Mr. Reeves, you contacted your son's employer, correct? Yes. His clients? Yes. Multiple business associates? Yes. You systematically destroyed his professional reputation before any court had determined guilt. I provided factual information about documented fraud. You took it upon yourself to punish him before the legal system could act. I protected other potential victims from a demonstrated fraudster. Or you sought revenge for a family dispute. There was no dispute. There was a crime. A crime you've profited from. You're seeking damages in civil court, correct? I'm seeking compensation for legal fees and emotional distress. How much? $200,000. So you're financially benefiting from your son's prosecution. I'm recovering costs incurred defending myself from his fraud. And you feel no guilt about any of this? None. You've destroyed your relationship with your only child and you feel nothing? I looked at the jury. I feel relief that a criminal is being held accountable. The fact that he happens to be biologically related to me is irrelevant to justice. No further questions. But I could see some jurors reacting. A few looked uncomfortable with my coldness. One older woman had tears in her eyes. Carol had scored points. Daniel addressed it in redirect. Mr. Reeves, do you love your son? I love the person I thought he was. I don't love who he actually is. If he'd come to you honestly, asked for help with his business problems, what would you have done? I'd have helped him, not with co-signing bad loans, but with advice, connections, maybe some direct financial support, if he'd been honest. So this wasn't about money. No, it was about trust, and he proved he couldn't be trusted. The prosecution rested on day 4. Carol Chen put on her defense, but it was weak. Character witnesses who said Evan was usually nice. A psychologist who testified about family stress and poor decision-making. Derek Moss took the 5th, refusing to testify. Nothing changed the fundamental facts. The documents were forged. The witness was bribed. The conspiracy was real. Closing arguments came on day 6. Daniel stood before the jury. Evan Reeves committed fraud. This isn't complicated. The evidence is clear, documented, undeniable. He forged his father's signature. He paid a man to file false charges. He conspired with a lawyer to steal assets through fake guardianship. These are crimes. The defendant is a criminal. Your duty is simple. Find him guilty on all counts. Carol tried emotion. Yes, mistakes were made. But is prison the answer? Is destroying a young man's entire future the answer? This family is already broken. Don't break it further. Show mercy where the victim has shown none. Judge Brooks instructed the jury. They deliberated for 6 hours. I sat in the courthouse cafeteria, drinking coffee, waiting. Patricia held my hand. Liz paced near the windows. What if they find him not guilty? Liz asked. They won't, I said. But what if? Then I file appeals, pursue civil cases, make sure everyone knows what he did regardless of the verdict. There's more than one way to hold someone accountable. Patricia squeezed my hand. Listen to yourself. I'm being realistic. You're being obsessed. Maybe she was right. Maybe I'd crossed some line I couldn't uncross. But I was too far in to stop now. The bailiff came at 4:30 p.m. Jury's ready. We filed back into the courtroom. Evan looked pale, hollow. His hands shook as he stood. Judge Brooks addressed the jury. Have you reached a verdict? The forewoman stood. We have, Your Honor. On the count of forgery, how do you find? Guilty. On the count of criminal fraud? Guilty. On the count of conspiracy to commit elder abuse? Guilty. Evan's knees buckled. Carol caught his arm. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Judge Brooks gavelled for silence. Mr. Reeves, you've been found guilty on all counts. Sentencing will be scheduled for 3 weeks from today. You're remanded to custody until that time. Guards moved forward. Evan looked back at me. Our eyes met. I felt nothing. 3 weeks passed. The media covered the verdict. Local news, then regional, then national. Story of the year. Son defrauds father, justice prevails. I declined all interview requests. Let the court record speak for itself. Liz's divorce was finalized during that time. She got a settlement, not much, since Evan had no assets left. But she didn't care about money. She just wanted it over. I'm moving to Portland, she told me over coffee. New job, fresh start, away from all this. I understand. Do you? Because sometimes I wonder if you understand anything except winning. Is that what you think I did? Won? Didn't you? Evan's going to prison. His career's destroyed. His marriage is over. Everyone knows what he did. If that's not winning, what is? I thought about that. Winning would mean getting back what I lost. My trust, my relationship with my son, my belief that family means something. I didn't get any of that back. I just stopped him from taking more. She softened. I'm sorry. That wasn't fair. It's okay. You're not wrong. I did win. Just not the way people think. We talked for another hour, said goodbye properly. She hugged me tight before leaving. "Thank you for being stronger than I was," she said. "You were plenty strong. Not like you never broke." After she left, Patricia said, "She's right, you never broke. I wonder sometimes if that's good or bad. Does it matter? Maybe not. But I miss the version of you that would have cared about the answer." Sentencing day arrived. Same courtroom, same players. Evan looked worse. Jail had not been kind to him. Carol Chen submitted character letters, pleaded for leniency. Daniel Park argued for maximum sentence. Judge Brooks read from her notes. "Mr. Reeves, you committed serious crimes against a vulnerable victim, your own father. You violated trust, abused family relationships, and showed calculated planning and intent. Your actions demonstrate lack of remorse and a fundamental disregard for the law. However, you have no prior criminal history. I'm balancing severity of offense against potential for rehabilitation." She paused. The courtroom was silent. "On all counts, I sentence you to 4 years in state prison, followed by 3 years supervised probation. You will also pay full restitution to the victim, currently calculated at $187,000 for legal fees and documented damages. Do you understand?" "Yes, Your Honor," Evan whispered. "Do you wish to address the court?" Evan stood, looked at me for the first time since the verdict. "Dad, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't mean anything now, but I'm sorry. I was wrong. I was desperate and stupid and wrong." I stared at him, waited for something to stir inside me. Forgiveness, pity, anger, anything. Nothing came. "You're not sorry you did it," I said. "You're sorry you got caught." "That's not true." "Yes, it is. If you'd succeeded, we wouldn't be here. You'd have my house, my assets, and I'd be in some facility, while you told everyone I was mentally incompetent." He didn't deny it. Judge Brooks intervened. "That's enough. Mr. Reeves, you'll be transported to begin your sentence immediately." Guards moved forward. Evan was led away. He didn't look back this time. Outside, media surrounded me. Cameras, microphones, questions, shouted over each other. "Mr. Reeves, how do you feel about the sentence? Do you forgive your son? Would you reconcile if he apologized? What message does this send to other families?" I ignored them all, walked to my car with Patricia, drove home in silence. That evening, Thomas Brennan called. "Michael, the civil case is settled. Evan's lawyers agreed to judgment in your favor. You'll receive full restitution plus additional damages once he's able to pay. Given his employment situation, it'll likely come through wage garnishment over many years." "I don't care about the money. I know, but legally, you're entitled to it. Consider it closed." After I hung up, Patricia said, "It's really over." "Yes." "So what now?" "I go back to work, back to normal life." "Is that possible, going back?" "I don't know." She looked at me, really looked at me. "You won, Michael. You destroyed him completely, but I need to know. Was it worth what it cost?" "What did it cost?" "Your son, your peace, maybe part of your soul." I considered lying, telling her I regretted everything, that I wished I'd found another way, that the victory tasted like ashes. But I'd never lied to Patricia in 40 years. "Yes," I said. "It was worth it." She didn't say anything for a long time. Then, "Okay." "Just okay?" "I don't have to agree with you to still be married to you. I'll probably argue with you about this for years, but I understand why you did what you did. And I'm still here." I pulled her close. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. I'm going to make you talk to a therapist." "Fine. And maybe we should think about moving. Too many bad memories in this house." "Whatever you want." We sat together in the quiet house, holding each other, processing everything that had happened. Somewhere across town, my son was being processed into prison. Somewhere else, Liz was packing for Portland. Life was moving forward, changed forever. I felt no guilt, no regret, no second thoughts. I'd stopped being his father the moment he decided to betray me, and I'd never looked back. 6 months later, I sat in my office at the courthouse, reviewing an inspection report. The work had become routine again, safe, predictable, straightforward. I liked it that way. Glenn knocked on my doorframe. "Michael, you have a visitor. Says it's personal." I looked up. A young woman stood behind him, mid-20s, nervous. "Can I help you?" "Mr. Reeves, my name is Ashley Price, Nathan Price's daughter." The contractor who'd filed false charges, who'd taken Evan's bribe. "Come in," I said. Glenn left us alone. She sat across from my desk, hands twisting in her lap. "I know you have no reason to listen to me, but I wanted to apologize for what my father did, what he did to you. You're not responsible for his choices. I know, but I felt like someone from our family should say it. He's in rehab now, lost everything because of gambling and then lost more because he made terrible decisions trying to fix it. He tells everyone it's your fault, but I know better. You didn't make him lie. That was on him. Why are you telling me this? Because I needed you to know, not everyone in my family is like him. And because I'm studying law. I want to be a prosecutor. Seeing what happened to you, how someone can use the system to hurt people, that changed what I want to do with my life. I want to stop people like my dad. And like your son. I studied her. Young, earnest, trying to make something good out of something terrible. That's admirable, I said. Will you write me a recommendation letter for law school applications? I almost laughed. The audacity of it. Then I realized she was serious. You want me to recommend the daughter of the man who tried to destroy my career? I want you to recommend someone who learned from her father's mistakes, who saw real consequences for bad actions and decided to be on the right side, if that matters to you. It did matter, more than I expected. Send me your information. I'll write the letter. Her face lit up. Thank you. Thank you so much. After she left, Patricia called. How was work? Interesting. Nathan Price's daughter just asked me for a law school recommendation. You're kidding. Nope. She wants to be a prosecutor. Are you going to do it? Already said yes. Look at you being generous. Not generous. Practical. The legal system needs good people. If she's serious about it, why not help? Because her father tried to ruin you. That's her father's crime, not hers. I'm not going to punish someone for their parents' actions. Patricia was quiet for a moment. The irony of that statement. I understood what she meant. I'd punished Evan for his actions, cut him off completely, showed no mercy, but I was willing to help Ashley despite her father's crimes. It's different, I said. How? She didn't betray me, he did. So it really is about the betrayal, not the crime. Yes. At least you're honest about it. That evening, I wrote the recommendation letter. Described Ashley's clarity of purpose, her understanding of justice, her willingness to learn from difficult circumstances. Sent it directly to her with copies for her applications. She emailed back within an hour. You have no idea what this means to me. Thank you for seeing past my last name. I didn't respond. Just closed my laptop and sat in my office thinking. Patricia found me there an hour later. You okay? Just thinking about legacy, about what we leave behind. And? Evan will be remembered for fraud and betrayal. Nathan Price for lies and cowardice. But maybe Ashley will be remembered for something better. Maybe good can come from bad. That's unusually optimistic for you. Don't get used to it. She smiled. Therapy's helping. I'd been seeing a counselor for 3 months. Patricia's insistence. Initially I'd resisted, but eventually found it useful. Not for guilt or regret. I still felt neither, but for perspective. For understanding what I'd become and whether I wanted to stay that way. The counselor, Dr. Raymond Miller, had asked me a question last week. Do you think you're a good person? I think I'm a fair person, I'd answered. That's not the same thing. I know. Does that bother you? No. And it didn't. I'd made peace with what I'd done. Evan had committed crimes. I'd ensured consequences. The fact that those consequences destroyed him completely wasn't my fault. He'd built his life on a foundation of fraud. When that foundation collapsed, everything fell with it. Cause and effect, action and reaction, systems thinking. Patricia interrupted my thoughts. I got a letter today from Evan. I looked up. What did it say? He's doing work release program, has a job in the prison library, says he's taking online classes, trying to get a degree, says he thinks about us every day. Did he apologize? Multiple times. Says he understands why we did what we did. Says he deserves everything that happened. What do you think? I think he's trying to rebuild. I think prison changed him. People don't change. They just get better at hiding. That's harsh. It's realistic. She sat down next to me. He asked if we'd visit, if there was any chance of reconciliation. My chest tightened. No. Michael. No. He made his choice. I made mine. That's finished. He's still your son. Biologically. Nothing else. You can't mean that. But I did mean it. Completely. The person I'd raised, the child I'd loved, was gone. Maybe he'd never existed. Maybe I'd just been seeing what I wanted to see. Either way, the man in prison wasn't someone I recognized or wanted in my life. I'm not going, I said. If you want to visit him, that's your choice, but I'm done. Patricia looked sad. Not surprised, but sad. All right, I'll tell him. Are you going to visit? I don't know yet. Maybe. He's still my son-in-law. Was my son-in-law. I spent years caring about him. That doesn't just disappear. For me it does. I know, and I'm not asking you to change. I'm just saying I might handle this differently. That's fine. We sat together in the quiet office. Outside, the sun was setting over Seattle. The city glowed orange and gold. Beautiful, indifferent, eternal. Life went on whether we were ready or not. Evan was released after serving 28 months. Good behavior, work program participation, parole conditions. I learned about it from the newspaper. Patricia had visited him twice during his incarceration. She never told me details, and I never asked. The day he got out, my lawyer called. Michael, just informing you that Evan Reeves has been released. His parole requires he maintain distance from you unless you consent to contact. He's also required to begin making restitution payments, $50 per week, automatically garnished from any wages. Understood. If he violates parole or contacts you improperly, call immediately. I will. I hung up and returned to my work. Didn't think about it. Didn't worry. He was out, but he had no power anymore. No ability to hurt me. The past was settled. 2 weeks later, Patricia told me she'd had lunch with him. He's working at a property management company. Data entry, basically. Nothing client-facing. Trying to stay clean, stay employed, fulfill parole requirements. Good for him. He asked about you. Asked if there was any chance of talking. No. He says he's changed. I don't care. Michael, I know you don't want to hear this, but he's genuinely different. Prison was hard. He's not the same arrogant person who tried to defraud you. Then I'm happy for him, but I'm still not interested. Why not? What would it cost you to have one conversation? My dignity, my self-respect, my boundary that says people who betray me don't get second chances. Even your own son? Especially my own son, because family betrayal is worse than stranger betrayal. She sighed. I can't argue with you about this anymore. I don't have the energy. Then don't. But something in her eyes had changed, a distance that hadn't been there before. We were still married, still together, still functional. But something had shifted between us, some fundamental disagreement about forgiveness and mercy that we'd never resolve. I wondered if that mattered. If a marriage could survive this kind of divergence. Apparently it could. We kept going. Work, home, routine. Patricia volunteered at a youth legal aid clinic. I took on additional inspections, stayed busy, kept my head down. We existed in parallel, connected but separate. 6 months after Evan's release, I received a letter. Handwritten, no return address. Dad, I know you don't want to hear from me. I know I have no right to ask anything of you. But I'm asking anyway. I'm sorry. Not because I got caught. Not because I'm in trouble. But because I hurt you. Because I betrayed someone who only ever tried to help me. Because I let greed and arrogance turn me into someone I hate. Prison gave me time to think about who I was, about what I did, about what you taught me growing up and how completely I ignored every lesson. You taught me about integrity, about systems and structures and doing things right, about the importance of trust and documentation and ethical behavior. I threw all of that away. I understand if you never forgive me. I wouldn't forgive me either, but I wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did. I see why you responded the way you did. I see that you weren't cruel. You were just, I hope someday I can be half the man you are. Your son, Evan. I read it twice. Looked for manipulation, for hidden agenda, for the angle. Found none. Patricia came home and I showed her the letter. What do you think? She asked. I think he means it. So? So nothing. It doesn't change anything. It doesn't change what happened, but it might change what happens next. I'm not interested in what happens next with him. Are you interested in what happens next with us? I looked up. What does that mean? It means I can't live with someone who has no capacity for forgiveness. I'm not saying you have to reconcile with Evan. I'm saying you have to be able to acknowledge when someone is genuinely trying to make amends. I acknowledge it. I just don't care. Then we have a problem. We stared at each other. 40 years of marriage compressed into one moment of divergence. Are you leaving me? I asked. No, but I'm disappointed in you, and I need you to know that. Fair enough. She left the room. I sat alone with Evan's letter. Part of me understood what she meant. Part of me recognized that my refusal to engage with Evan's remorse was itself a choice, a decision to remain hardened. But the larger part of me didn't care. He'd tried to steal my life. I'd responded appropriately. End of story. If that made me cold, so be it. I'd rather be cold than be a victim. The letter came 1 year after Evan's release. Same handwriting, different message. Dad, I'm writing to let you know I'm moving to Denver. New job, better opportunity, fresh start away from Seattle and all the history. I wanted to say goodbye, even though we haven't spoken. I wanted to thank you. That sounds crazy, I know. Thank you for destroying my life. But yes, you taught me accountability. You taught me consequences. You taught me that actions matter more than apologies. I spent so long blaming you, thinking you were cruel, vindictive, heartless. But you weren't. You were exactly what I needed. Someone who refused to enable, refused to excuse, refused to pretend my crimes were anything other than what they were. I'm not the person I was. I'll never be that person again. I'm building something new, something honest. It'll take years, maybe decades, but I'm doing it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect reconciliation. I just wanted you to know that your son, your real son, the one you tried to raise properly, is finally showing up, just 20 years late. Take care of yourself. Evan. I read the letter at my desk, read it again, set it down and stared at the wall. Patricia found me there an hour later. Another letter? He's moving to Denver. I know, he told me last week. You knew and didn't mention it? I figured he'd tell you himself. I handed her the letter. She read it silently. This is genuine, she said. You know that, right? Probably. So, What are you going to do? I thought about that. Thought about everything that had happened. The betrayal, the trial, the consequences. Thought about the man who'd tried to destroy me and the man who'd written this letter. Thought about whether they were the same person or if prison had actually changed something fundamental. Decided I didn't care either way. Nothing, I said. I'm going to do nothing. You're not even going to respond? What would I say? Good luck? I forgive you? I don't feel either of those things. You could acknowledge his growth. You could recognize he's trying. I recognize it. I just don't feel obligated to participate in his redemption arc. Patricia looked at me. Really looked at me. Same way she'd been looking at me for months, with that mixture of love and disappointment. You've become someone I don't entirely recognize, she said quietly. I know. Does that bother you? No. It bothers me. I'm sorry about that, but I won't apologize for protecting myself, for refusing to trust someone who betrayed me, for maintaining boundaries that keep me safe. Safety isn't the same as healing. Maybe I don't want to heal. Maybe I want to remember. Maybe I want to stay angry so I never forget what people are capable of. That's a terrible way to live. It's an honest way to live. She didn't argue. Just left the room. Left me alone with Evan's letter and my own cold clarity. Later that night, I shredded the letter. Didn't keep it, didn't respond to it, didn't think about it again. Evan moved to Denver. I heard through Patricia that he was doing well. Decent job, small apartment, attending some kind of support group for people rebuilding after incarceration. He sent occasional updates to Patricia, never contacted me directly. Good. Years passed. I retired from the courthouse at 67. Patricia retired from her firm the same year. We traveled some, Europe, Asia, South America, saw things we'd always talked about seeing, enjoyed retirement together despite the distance that remained between us. She still hoped I'd soften, still occasionally mentioned Evan, his progress, his life. I still showed no interest. We'd reached a détente. She could maintain her relationship with him. I could maintain my absence. Neither of us pushed the other. It worked. Not perfectly, but adequately. One evening, 5 years after the trial, we sat on our back patio watching the sunset. Do you ever regret it? Patricia asked. How you handled everything? No. Not even a little? Not even a little. That makes you unusual. That makes me realistic. She smiled. Small, sad. I suppose it does. Do you regret staying married to someone who won't forgive? Some days, but mostly no. You're still the man I married. Just more concentrated. More concentrated? All your best qualities, intelligence, loyalty, precision, got sharpened into weapons. You're still you, just colder. Is that acceptable? It's tolerable, and I love you anyway. Even though I'm not good? You're not bad either. You're just unforgiving. The world has room for people like you. I took her hand. We sat together in the fading light. Somewhere in Denver, my son was living his life. Rebuilding, growing, changing. Good for him. Somewhere in Seattle, I was living mine, working, aging, remaining constant. Good for me. We'd never reconcile. Never have that tearful reunion, that healing conversation, that moment of mutual understanding. He'd destroyed that possibility when he forged my signature. I'd buried it when I destroyed his life. That was fine. I'd learned something important through all of this. Family isn't biology. Family is trust. And once trust is broken, biology means nothing. People thought I should be sad about that, haunted by it, diminished by my own coldness. They were wrong. I was free.